So we had real trouble gathering stories for the forts. For some reason, people either didn't want to come forward with stories, or perhaps there weren't any. I don't know. But we had real trouble gathering stories. So we had a couple stories and we were good to go. And last weekend we had an event here that had to do with the bridge. And while the event was going on, a reenactor from Vermont who works for Vermont State Historical, he's done events on both sides of the lake. So he's very reputable in what he says. We were inside the museum and he asked me what events we had coming up, and I said, oh, well, we have the ghost tour. And he said, oh, well, that should be easy because there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. And I said, believe it or not, it hasn't been too easy because not a lot of people have been coming forward with stories. And he said, well, I have a couple. I said, let's hear them. So, the first one he told me, he said, it was in the 1970s, and I was camping at the DEC campsite across the street. And he was looking, it was probably around this time, and not too dark, not too light. And he looked over just about where the Citadel was, and this gray mist rose up. And he was staring at it for probably 10 minutes, trying to figure out what it was. And he said, suddenly, it started moving towards me. And it was very slowly making its way along the wall, down the lawn, and up over towards the campsite. So, as it got closer to him, the temperature started to drop. And as the temperature started to drop, the wind picked up. And he said that before he knew it, the cloud was right on top of him. And as it passed over his campsite, the fire went out. And it's not like with a gust of wind. He said, I bent over and picked up coals from the fireplace, and they were cold. So something made the fire go out. Now, the really strange part about these forts is that the French occupied it from 1734 to 59, and the British occupied their fort from 59 until the American Revolution. However, no burial site has ever been found for either fort. The French, being Catholic, definitely would have buried their dead. And the priests who were sent here kept very good records of births, baptisms, marriages, and funerals. So we know that people died here. Two people who we do know for certain are buried in the fort. There was an older woman, about 70 years old, buried over where the wall construction was as you walked in, which is actually very interesting because when our preservation team was working on the wall this summer, they found a bone. So we know that she's buried over there. The second burial site, you're standing on it. Before they burned the fort down, there was a church here. And the first commander of this fort had a child who died when he was only 40 days old. And when the church was being built, he asked that the child be buried under the altar of the church. So he's right here. Once again, we've never found any type of burial site other than that. So where they are, we don't know. They could be over there. We don't know where they are. So, any questions? All right, so the next place we're going to go is, there's a sign that says 8. If you follow the road that you came, or if you follow the walkway you came in on, you're gonna go over in front of the British fort. Then there's some cattails there you're gonna stand in front of.
Cattails. Not cocktails.
Oh, there's going to be cocktails? One at a time. Come on in, come on in.
I found them on, it wasn't the Native Americans that died, is it, Don? It was mothers. But I said that.
There you go. How was it?